It's a very interesting gospel. It comes from a section in Matthew's gospel, the last part of Matthew's gospel, that deals with the end times. Eschatology, it's called eschatology as a branch of theology. Eschatos, Greek, means the end. So we're dealing with the end times. When we read this, it's more of an allegory than a parable, but when we read this, there are two ways it can speak to us. One, it gives us an insight into the church of Matthew. You'll find this only in Matthew, by the way, this peculiar to the Gospel of Matthew. Keep in mind, the Matthew Gospel is shaped maybe about 35, maybe 40 years after Jesus died. So it's taking shape now, the Gospel, under the influence of the Spirit, is taking shape. And Matthew, in this section of his Gospel, is speaking about the end times, because they thought the end times were imminent. So keep in mind now, if you read this Gospel, and we thought the end of the world was coming imminently, this Gospel might have more meaning to us. I mean, we'd say, wow, we better be prepared because the end is coming in 2025. And therefore, listen to this gospel because the end is coming. That's the thinking in which the gospel was shaped. So we get an insight into the church of Matthew, how they were thinking and what divine revelation made sense to them at the time. We have a different venue, or different understanding. We are not so convinced that the end of the world is imminent. And therefore, we have to interpret this in a different way. And therefore, the second meaning, outside of understanding how the church of Matthew was way back then and what teaching made sense to them, we have to translate this into the present age and say, what does this mean to us? And the essential teaching of this is be ready, be alert. Be alert because the presence of God is imminent. Be alert as you go through this day. Be conscious of the presence of God as you journey through this day. That the Lord will appear to you in a manner you did not expect, like midnight. That's the narrative given here. But midnight being any time you don't expect, time when you're not prepared, but the Lord appears to you. The Lord may appear to you today in your awareness of the poor, the immigrants, people in war zones, where you begin to complain about your life, and then the Lord reveals to you, wow, look across the world and see the suffering. Look in our own place where we live, in our own communities, people who are fiercely struggling. It might make us complain a little bit less. But how are we conscious of the presence and the visitation of God in the present moment, in this day? That might be the teaching we take from this. Be alert, be conscious. There's an invitation in this day that belongs only to this day. It's an invitation to forgive. It's an invitation to be generous. It's an invitation to care, to heal somebody, to thank somebody. Be alert. Be aware. The Spirit is moving in us. We are people of great faith, and the Lord is calling us. So while it teaches us about the Church of Matthew way back then, it also teaches us something about the manner in which we should live the gospel this day. To be alert. And if you raise your awareness like that, it will come to you. Wow, I need to be reconciled with someone. I need to share with somebody. I need to be generous. I need to console. Maybe I need to visit somebody who is lonely. Maybe I need to Give a kind word to somebody who is discouraged. What is it? Be alert, because God speaks to us in the present moment just as much as the gospel spoke to the church of Matthew 2,000 years ago. Amen. We pause now for a moment of prayer.